You even begin to comprehend how much effort she put in just so you and your father could live comfortably, aren't you? Even the slightest bit ashamed for questioning her when all this time you were the one who owed her rain, was it, eh? Lost for words, his face turning red with frustration, he pointed angrily at Todd. What does this have to do with you? She's my girlfriend taking care of me and my dad is her duty. Who the hell are you to judge me? I stepped forward and wrapped my hand around Todd's arm. My voice was cold. I stopped being your girlfriend long time ago. Don't try to stir up trouble in front of my fiancé. You two, Rain's glare could have burned holes through us. He clenched his teeth and asked Francis, are you serious? I've always been serious. After a brief pause, I added, Rain, I'll continue covering your father's medical expenses, but you've already graduated. It's time you learn to live independently. I think if your mother were still here, she wouldn't want to see you wasting your life like this. The debt I owed Aunt Jo weighed heavily on me, so whenever Rain lashed out at me, I instinctively questioned whether I had done enough, never once thinking to defend myself, but just now seeing Todd standing in front of me protecting me, something finally clicked. Todd and I were about to get married. If I kept entangling myself with Rain, how could I possibly be fair to Todd? Rain stood frozen for a long time, as if he was carefully processing my words. Suddenly his eyes turned red. No, Francis, are you really cutting me off? Don't leave me. Tears welled up and fell down his cheeks as he murmured to himself, we used to be so good together. Yes, he enjoyed spending my money chasing after younger, prettier girls, while also taking my sacrifices for granted. Of course things had been great for him, only I knew what it was like to stay up waiting for him, only to find him reeking of alcohol, covered in lipstick stains. From now on, don't come looking for me again. I glanced at the time and softly said to Todd, Leighton, go. We had only taken a few steps when Rain suddenly shouted behind us, you think he's any better than me? He's been lying to you this whole time. Todd, do you dare tell Francis the real reason you transferred overseas back then, or are you afraid she'll find out about the dirty secrets that got you kicked out of school? Todd suddenly stopped in his tracks, his body trembling slightly. I could feel his nervousness. Rain looked at Todd with a smirk. Huh, looks like you never told Francis about this. Well, how about I do it for you? What do you think? You probably don't know this, but since the day Todd started school, he's been chasing after girls everywhere. He even stole someone else's girlfriend and got her pregnant. He couldn't take responsibility for her, and in the end, she jumped off a building and took her own life. Anyone who knows about this incident despises him. If his actions hadn't been so disgraceful that he was completely shunned by everyone, do you really think he would have willingly left everything behind and fled abroad? Stop talking nonsense. I stepped forward, quickly placing myself between them. This is slander, and you'll be held legally responsible for it. Whether it's slander or not, he knows the truth better than anyone. Rain shot Todd a sharp glare before turning to me, his tone softening. I know I used to be a bit of a troublemaker, but we've been together for so many years. You should know I'm not a bad person. But what about him? How much do you really know about him? From where I stand, he just got bored of his life overseas and came back looking for a wife, and you just happened to be convenient. Rain, my voice was steady as I cut him off. If you keep slandering my fiancé, I won't hesitate to have my lawyer send you a legal notice. Rain looked as if he had been struck. His mouth fell open, disbelief written all over his face. How can you still not understand? I gently pushed him aside and took Todd's hand, leading him away. Todd had looked pale ever since Rain started speaking. I suggested softly, maybe we should reschedule the house viewing. Let me take you home first. He shook his head. No need, let's see the house first. A long silence passed before he finally spoke. Francis, none of that was true. Todd's voice was low, tinged with uncertainty. I couldn't help but reach out and hold his hand gently. I believe you. Even though I hadn't known Todd for long, my instincts told me he was sincere and honest. There was nothing fake about him. Besides, I wasn't entirely unaware of the things Rain had mentioned back then. When I was working at the restaurant, there was a customer who came every single day. That was you, wasn't it? Todd turned to me, stunned. You still remember? How could I forget? Rain or shine, he always sat in that same corner quietly, eating the same bowl of noodles. I even remembered one time when he was cornered by some guys, and I pretended to call the police to scare them off. Back then he had to endure bullying from his classmates while also suffering through endless rumors. Life was incredibly difficult for him, but at the time I was struggling just to get by myself. I had no energy to meddle in others' affairs. That single moment of help was all I could offer from then on. He kept coming to the noodle shop every day, never speaking to me. At the time, he was sensitive and withdrawn, so different from the competent man he was now. If Todd hadn't accurately recalled details from my time working there, and if it weren't for what are said, I might never have connected the dots. Todd hesitated before saying, "You were the only person who didn't insult me and even helped me. I didn't want to cause trouble for you and your boyfriend, so the only thing I could do was silently repay you in my own way." I couldn't help but smile. My salary was hourly, you know. Even if you ate more noodles, I wouldn't have earned a single extra cent. Todd lowered his head, a little frustrated. "I thought you got a commission." I was joking, but at least your frequent visits proved that my noodles were pretty good. Before we knew it, we had arrived at our new home. We did a quick inspection. The renovations were exactly as expected. We were both very satisfied looking at the brand new open kitchen. I suggested, "Since neither of us has eaten yet, why don't I cook some noodles? You can see if my skills have improved or gotten worse." "Sounds good." Todd bent down and pulled out 2 aprons. "I'll be your kitchen assistant." Watching Todd focus intently on chopping vegetables, I couldn't resist being playful. I scooped up some flour with my hands and gently patted it onto his cheeks. Todd looked puzzled at first, then his eyes widened in realization. He grabbed a handful of flour and flung it at me in retaliation. Even though we were both wearing aprons, our clothes were soon covered in flour. During dinner, we finally talked about the past. At the class reunion, I once again became the center of attention. My friends started asking me the usual question: when was I finally getting married? I simply smiled, pulled out a stack of invitations, and handed them out to everyone present. "You guys really have great timing. The wedding is this weekend, so make sure you come and celebrate with me." Everyone immediately offered their congratulations, but their eyes collectively shifted to the man standing behind me. "You two have been together for over years now. It's about time you made it official." Rain suddenly slammed his glass down on the table with a loud thud, his voice filled with anger. "Francis, do you think this whole marriage pressure thing is funny?" An awkward silence fell over the room. I calmly walked up to him, unfolded an invitation, and placed it in front of him. "Sorry, but I never said you were the groom." At every class reunion, one question was always guaranteed to come up: when would they finally get to attend my wedding with Rain? After all, in their eyes, a couple who had been together for almost years without getting married was practically unheard of. So when I announced my wedding date at this year's gathering and started handing out invitations, the shock on everyone's faces was unmistakable. As I approached Rain, debating whether to give him one as well, he spoke up nonchalantly: "When did I ever agree to marry you, Francis? What kind of stunt are you trying to pull here? Do you really think this is funny?" The room fell silent. His voice, filled with anger, was the only sound echoing in the private lounge. "Let me make this clear right now. I am not getting married. The more you push, the more you disgust me. If you have this much time for games, why not just wait another couple of years?" "Sorry, but you're overthinking things." I met Rain's gaze, my expression perfectly calm, and slowly unfolded the invitation in my hands. "Look carefully. The groom isn't you." The moment I said that, everyone immediately opened their invitations, exchanging confused glances and whispering among themselves, "What, the groom isn't Rain? Todd, that name sounds familiar." She has to be joking. Right, after all these years, how could she just move on like that? Rain snatched an invitation and, after confirming the name, crumpled it into a ball and threw it at me in fury. "What the hell is this? Some kind of performance?" Sensing the rising tension, a couple of classmates quickly stepped in to mediate. "Come on. What's going on with you two? Why are you always at odds?" "Francis, if you're just throwing a tantrum, this really isn't the place. This could seriously hurt your relationship with Rain." "Rain, don't be like this. Everyone knows how good Francis has been to you over the years. She probably just wants to settle down to have a home with you." Rain shook off their hands, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "Francis, this was your plan all along, wasn't it? A public stunt to guilt trip me, to humiliate me in front of everyone, so I'd be forced to give in. You're just as manipulative as ever." "Rain," I cut him off coldly, "if I remember correctly, we broke up a long time ago. Have you forgotten?" He froze, his face instantly turning pale, as if the weight of my words had just hit him half a year ago. I was the one who had officially ended things. Some of his close friends had even caught wind of it that night. Rain had taken another woman to a friend's birthday party. Unfortunately for him, I happened to witness it. I had been there on business entertaining clients when one of them casually pointed behind me. "Hey, isn't that your boyfriend?" I turned around in time to see Rain, his arm wrapped around a stranger, the two of them laughing as they entered a private booth. That morning he had complained about my work dinner, yet by the afternoon he was out here blatantly flaunting his infidelity. Suppressing my fury, I forced a smile. "You must be mistaken, that's not my boyfriend. He went back to his hometown recently." "Excuse me, I need to use the restroom." I wished with all my heart that it wasn't him, but as I stood outside that booth, Rain's voice came through loud and clear. "You're pretty bold, not afraid. Francis will find out and throw a fit. Why bring up that bus?" Gil. Rain let out a mocking laugh. "Even if she finds out, what can she do? You guys are so old-fashioned. What's wrong with having a little fun on the side? You've been together for almost years. Aren't you worried she might actually leave you?" "Relax, she won't. She's so boring. Who else would even want her?" Just the other day she brought up marriage again, and I shot her down right away. "So you're just going to string her along forever? You're really never going to marry her?" Rain took a sip of his drink and smirked. "Marriage? Don't be ridiculous. I'm still young. Sticking to just one woman for the rest of my life, that would be a complete waste, honestly." "That's kind of messed up." Rain scoffed and pulled the woman in his arms closer, pressing a kiss to her lips. "Baby, you didn't hear any of that. All right, let's have some fun tonight watching that scene unfold." I felt like I was suffocating, like an invisible hand was squeezing my throat, leaving me speechless. I had stood by Rain from high school to college, through every hardship, through every struggle. Now we had both established our careers. I had thought we were finally ready to build a home together, but in reality he had simply been keeping me around while enjoying his freedom. I pushed open the booth door, meeting his panicked gaze head on. "Rain, you got what you wanted. We're over, and just so we're clear, I'm the one dumping you." As I walked away, I could still hear the frantic conversation behind me. "You're screwed. You better explain yourself." Rain gritted his teeth. "Ignore her. I bet she'll come crawling back begging for forgiveness." That night, I moved out of our shared department and cut off all contact with him. He never reached out to me. The only times I heard from him were when his drunk friends mistakenly called me, but I never answered. This class reunion was our first encounter since the breakup. Seeing everyone's shock, I repeated myself, "Rain and I are completely over. I don't want my fiancé to misunderstand. The past is in the past, so let's not bring it up anymore." Rain stared at me, dazed, as if he couldn't process the reality in front of him. "You're kidding, right? Enough with the jokes. You know whether or not I'm joking." My tone was indifferent. His chest rose and fell sharply with his ragged breathing. It took him a long time to force out his next words. "Enough with this act." Rain always thought he was the smartest person in the room. He was convinced I was just trying to provoke him. I had no interest in dragging this out any longer. Just as I was contemplating an exit strategy, my phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, I couldn't help but smile. "Are you off work?" "Yeah." "Are you almost done? I can come pick you up." "No need, I'm just wrapping up here." "All right, see you soon." Just as I hung up the phone, Rain forcefully grabbed my hand. He snatched the phone from me, glaring at the call log with clenched teeth, his jaw tightening audibly. Then he questioned me angrily. "Who is he? Where did you find this actor?" Without hesitation, he attempted to call back. I swiftly took my phone back and said coldly, "Does this have anything to do with you? Mind your own business."